welcome to today's lesson on gears and transmissions. This is lesson 2 of the complex machine. The last lesson we talked about the complex machine and we deconstructed the bicycle to look at the different subsystems that made up the bicycle. Today we're going to specifically look at gears and transmissions and what they do as a subsystem for the complex machine and what kind of complex machines they would be used in. So by the end of today's lesson, you must be able to identify linkages or power transmissions in a mechanical device and describe their general function. So really today we're looking at subsystems that transfer forces. Some of the subsystems in complex machines that produce motion play a role in the transfer of energy or force, and these are called the linkages and transmissions. Gears are often an important part of these subsystems. Okay, they don't have to be, but they quite often are. And when we talked about the bicycle yesterday, we definitely talked about the gears were on the sprockets, and they had the little teeth, and that's the teeth are and the gears are quite often involved, but they're not always. Some machines will have a belt, and the belt transfer the force from one part of this one subsystem to another subsystem. For case in point would be the alternator on a vehicle. Okay, so linkages. Linkages is the part that transfers the energy from the pedals to the back wheel. On a bicycle, the chain is the linkage. So a linkage is basically the part in between the two subsystems that transfers the energy or the force. In cars, a belt is being used as a linkage, okay, and in an older car, even the fan belt. And so you can see here, one of these here would likely be the coming from the motor or from the engine, and then these other two wheels here are being turned to, for the alternator, for example, the alternator is turning to recharge the battery, and other functions can be used here as well. Okay. Chains or belts form a direct link between two separate wheels so that when one turns, the other will turn in the same direction. Now, that I think for most of us makes sense, or at least that's our experience. We know that when we pedal a bicycle, the bicycle will go in the direction that you're pedaling it. Now, if one wheel is larger, it will rotate more slowly but with a larger force than the smaller wheel. And I'll come back to this idea in a couple minutes when we talk about gears. And we're going to talk about driving gears and driven gears. And then we'll talk about whether it's a speed advantage or a force advantage. Transmissions. Transmissions are very similar to gears on a bicycle, but they are used in machines or vehicles that apply much more force. Much more energy is involved. So a transmission is used to transfer the energy from the engine to the wheels. And of course, a transmission will contain a number of different gears. And they're very similar to the gears on the bicycle, except that they are designed to transfer much larger forces. So if you can kind of just remember that transmissions are for vehicles or machines and factories that would be dealing with large forces, and then just the gears are for much lower forces, for example, the gears on a bicycle. Okay, and then in low gear, the transmission connects a small wheel to a larger wheel. And I'm going to come back to terminology in a little bit called the driving wheel and the driven wheel. So if the driving wheel, this is a small wheel, and the driven wheel is a larger wheel, the front wheel rotates more slowly. For every one rotation of the driving wheel, will only have a partial rotation of the driven wheel. And so what that does is increases the amount of power. So it's a force advantage, but it reduces the overall speed. So this is where when the driving gear is smaller than the driven gear, you're going to have lots of power, but not a lot of speed. And then the opposite is true here in high gear. The transmission connects a large wheel to a smaller wheel, or the driving wheel is larger and the driven wheel is smaller. So the wheels rotate faster than the engine. So for every one rotation of the large wheel, the driving wheel, the other wheel, the driven wheel, is rotated multiple times. So what this does is that it reduces the amount of power, but it drastically can increase the car's speed. Okay, and the same thing was on a bicycle, except we're not talking about transmissions there, we're just talking about gears. So, what is a gear? A pair of wheels it could be two or more, but in the case of a bicycle, a pair of wheels that have teeth that interlink. When they rotate together, one gear wheel transfers turning motion and force to the other. The larger gear wheel rotates more slowly than the smaller gear wheel, but it rotates with a greater force. And then we'll just introduce now how this happens with um, whether it's a power or a force advantage or a speed advantage. All right. So just to review our terminology, the gear that has force applied to it from the outside, so in the case of the bicycle from the pedals, that gear is called the driving gear. And then it applies a force to the other gear called the driven gear. And so that would be your rear sprocket set on the back of the bike. So on the rear tire or the rear wheel, there would be a sprocket set there. That's your driven gear on a bicycle, and the driving gear is the gear that's attached to the pedals, the crankshaft. Okay, now let's start talking about how gears affect the speed, or how they affect the force. Okay, if we take a look at our first scenario here, if the driving gear is larger, and in this case here it's called the driver gear, but this is the driving gear and this is the driven gear. So if the driving gear is larger than the driven gear, you'll notice that there is a turning speed increase in this system. So watch this rotation carefully. As this goes around one full rotation, you should have noticed that B went down around 1.5 times. Take a look at it again. So there's one rotation for B and a half rotation. Okay, so what happens here is that because the driven gear is moving more than once, we get a speed advantage. It requires more force to be applied, but you gain speed with that force that you apply. And these are called multiplying gears. Now, if you take a look at the reducing gears, this is a situation in which the driving gear is the smaller wheel this time, or the smaller gear. So it's the same image as last time, but this we're calling this the driving gear now, and this is the driven gear. So notice now when the small gear, gear B, makes one full rotation, you'll notice that A doesn't make a full rotation. So there is one rotation for B, and A was around here. So take a look at it again. Okay, so B will start us off here. Okay, A started at the top, and when B gets to the top, A is only about 2/3 the way through a rotation. And so this gives us not a speed advantage, but rather a force advantage. So you can apply smaller forces on the driving gear and get larger forces exerted on the driven gear, which is what allows you to climb up steep hills and such. Okay, so two big ideas here. Reducing gears give you a force advantage, and multiplying gears give you a speed advantage. So here's today's activity. It's Gear Up for Speed. I'm going to have you guys investigate the gear ratios on whatever bike you have at home. And it doesn't matter if you have a bike that has only one sprocket on the front and rear, like a BMX bike might have, for example, or if you have any other bike that has multiple sprockets up front and multiple sprockets on the rear drive as well. So it doesn't matter. Use whatever bike you have access to. It could be yours, which would be preferable. You'd learn more about your bike. Or you can pick mom or dad's or one of your siblings, whatever. Get yourself a bike so you can do this activity. Or I will put the information from my own bike up in Google Classroom as well. Last case scenario, you can use My Data to do your calculations.